Hey guys, it's Abby, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be doing the August wrapped up, because I didn't do it last month, the September wrapped up, and then the October TBR. So that's going to be all in this video, and pretty much going to get straight into it because there is a lot of books to go through. So as you can see, my bookshelf behind me is a lot clearer now because I've just grabbed all the books. So we are going to start off with the August wrap up. So the first book in the August wrap up is Hooked by Emily McIntyre, and I gave it a 5 stars because I believe this is actually the first dark romance type of book it was the first book I ever read, this one, and I loved it that much. I went and bought the whole series. So this one is a Peter Pan reimagined. So essentially you've got Hook, who, that's like his nickname, his real name's James, and he owns a bar, and his like arch enemy Peter has a daughter called Wendy, and Wendy and her friends go to this bar, they meet, and it pretty much becomes one of them if you touch her you die sort of tropes. And yeah, it was really good. There is a plot twist that I did see coming and I didn't at the same time. If you've read it you know what I mean, but yeah, when I was reading it I was like, could it possibly be this? And then when I carried on reading it was. So I read Hooked, and I read that, I think it was just in 2 days, and I gave it 5 stars. So the next book, obviously as I said, as I bought the Never After series, was of course Scarred. This is a Lion King reimagined. I also gave this one 5 stars. I think her name was Sarah? Yeah. She was what every girl wants to be growing up. She was one of these, had her ulterior motive, was suspicious about it, was sneaky about it, and ended up falling in love because of it. I'm not going to say what brother she falls in love with, that you'll have to read the book, but it was very, very good. I would recommend this one. This one took me a little bit longer, but I was so into the story, every chance I could get I was picking up this book. That's why I gave it 5 stars. So sticking with the Never After theme, the next book, obviously, which is the third one in the series, is Wretched, and this is a Wizard of Oz retelling. I only give this one 3 stars, only because I love musicals, I love Wicked, and I couldn't see the characters how they were meant to be. It's not a bad book, it is a good book, but because I love Wicked so much, it was so hard to see these characters in that sense. And I did like the way, I don't want to give any spoilers, I like the way he came back for her. And if you've read it you'll know exactly what I'm on about. If you haven't you'll know that it's something to look forward to. But basically you have an undercover agent who is trying to take out this big drug dealer that's in the business, trying to figure out who makes the drugs, and it's her, and they fall for each other. And her family's this big drug family, and he gets involved being undercover. And actually how they meet, it's quite funny because they meet pretty much straight away. For like first 2 chapters they've met, but they meet again a little while later and then it all makes sense. But yeah, and the ending, oh my god, the ending of this book, I was crying. So yeah, I only gave it 3 stars because of the way I couldn't picture the characters as how they're meant to be, because I love Wicked and it wasn't making sense in my brain properly, but it is a good book. The next one, obviously the 4th one in the Never After series, is Twisted. This is a Aladdin retelling. I love this one. I think I gave it 5 stars. And I gave this one 5 stars. It was one of them that kept you hooked. It kept you wanting to read more. basically you've got Yasmin, obviously meant to be Jasmine, her dad's slowly dying and she wants to overtake the business, but obviously she can't, she has to be married, so then all these essentially like suitors are coming to meet her and take her out on dates and stuff. She's just not feeling it, and Jafar, aka Julian, is there at every turn. But Yasmin has feelings for Aiden, and she has done since they grew up together, and obviously Aiden's meant to be Aladdin, but then something happens. I think it's in Marriage of Convenience too, this one, which I love because they always end up falling for each other in the end. But yeah, this one's a 5-star and it was such a good read. So the next one is actually on my Kindle. It is Crossed, which is the 5th book in the Never After series, and it is a Hunchback of Notre Dame retelling. And this one I only gave 4 stars. It was good, but it was quite dark and gruesome compared to the others, but I did also like the way that he would do stuff for her. She was like the person you don't talk to in the town, and he done everything he can to try and change people's minds of the way that they've seen her. And then again, it was one of them, you don't touch her, you don't go near her because you will die. One of them sort of dark romances. And there was one plot twist which you find about nearer the end, that the second that character come into the book, I knew. I said straight away, that is that person. And then when it got to the end, I was like, I knew it. But yeah, this one I only gave 4 stars. It was good, but it wasn't as good as Hooked or Scarred, and Twisted. That's the only reason I gave it 4 stars. And obviously with the Never After series, there is still one more to come, which the author said that there was clues in the other books, and I'm going with it's a Little Mermaid retelling, because it said things like Poor Unfortunate Soul and just some other bits that just made me think Little Mermaid. So I think it's going to be a Little Mermaid retelling. I imagine it'll probably be something to do with Ursula and her finding like her redemption story. But yeah, that is it for the Never After series. So I read 2 more books in August, which were The Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is the 3rd and final book in the Dreamland Billionaires series. I bought this one as soon as it came out, but it's just been sitting on my bookshelf for ages. I've just been waiting to get around to it. I have tried to pick up a few times, and I've only read like the first chapter, and then I've just been too busy and haven't picked up a book since. So I did finally finish it. I'm so glad I did. I gave this one a 4 stars just because it wasn't as good as the other ones, but I did like Cal's character and how the author portrayed him and how we seen him and how vulnerable and emotional. There was things like that I liked, and second chance love and all of the good tropes that we love in a book was all in here. And it was one of them, everyone hated him at first because of what he'd done in the past, and then everyone ended up loving him in the end. And it is an emotional roller coaster, this book. It is an emotional roller coaster. If you want a good cry, and it's one of them books that you're angry at the character, then you love the character, then you're angry again. It's one of them. But yeah, it was a good read, so I gave it a 4 stars. So the last book I read in August was Unfortunately Yours. This is the 2nd book in a Vine Mess series. I read Secretly Yours before, and I fell in love with Natalie's character, and when I heard she was getting her own story, I was so happy. So I read it, and it was one of these, I feel like Tessa Bailey is just one of these authors that she always writes a good book. Like, no matter what mood you're in, no matter what season it is, no matter what you're doing, where you are, you can pick up a Tessa Bailey book and read it and you'll love it. So I picked it up, fell in love. Again, Marriage of Convenience. I think he fell first, if I remember correctly. And it's just all the little things that happen, and him wanting to succeed at making his own wine so badly and finding out the reasons why. It's just them sort of things that I really like. So I gave this one a 4 stars. So that is it for August. So moving on to September, I did not read as many books. I read 3 books the whole of September, and that was Magnolia Parks, Daisy Hates, Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home. Which, in my defence, they are big books. They are big, big books. They're that big, I think this is like 500 odd pages. I think Daisy Hates is again 500 odd pages, and then Magnolia Park's Long Way Home. This is the longest book I have ever read. I can say that hand on heart, this is the longest book I've ever read. I think it was near 600-700 pages, and they were also good, but I'm going to go through each and every single one of them. So obviously the first one, we have got Magnolia Parks. Magnolia is this London socialite. She is the it girl. There's all the designer brands, and her and BJ Ballantyne are in this on and off relationship, and it's one of these, if you've watched Gossip Girl, I feel like Magnolia and BJ are very Blair and Chuck, if you've watched Gossip Girl. And it does give the Gossip Girl aspects, that there's like a group of them that have been together since boarding school, and as much as they all hate each other, they love each other and will do anything for one another. And Magnolia and BJ are so dysfunctional, and there's so many times where you get this, you want them to work and they do start working, and then something happens and you get so frustrated, and it just keeps you going back for more, and it keeps you reading more and more and more. In this one we are introduced to Magnolia, BJ, all of their friends, and you sort of get the side characters in it, which makes sense in the other books. So in this one you're mainly introduced to Magnolia's family, a little bit of BJ's family if I remember correctly, their friends, and sort of what they all do and how they've all come around and how they're all friends. And in the book, I won't really say this is much of a spoiler, but when Magnolia and BJ were younger and in their proper relationship, BJ cheated. And we don't know who until the end of the book, and let me tell you, I gasped. I was not expecting that at all, whatsoever. So I was in pure shock, and obviously it's literally the last pages of the book, and I was like, I need to read the next one now. And at the time I only had Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates. I didn't have any other books. So I continued to read Daisy Hates straight after this one to see if I could sort of get something, some idea. You don't. You have to read the next Magnolia Parks. But the main question of Magnolia and BJ's story is, how many loves do you get in a lifetime? And every sort of boyfriend of Magnolia's or girlfriend of BJ's that you're introduced to, you start seeing them and you start to wonder, oh, could it be this person? Oh, could she love this person? Oh, could he love that person? And let me tell you, Magnolia and BJ are it for each other. It is so toxic too, like there's so much that they literally cannot stay away from each other. And I don't know what it is, like I don't support it and like it shouldn't be done, but in a book it just makes you want more. So I think I gave this one 3 stars, only because at first I couldn't get into it, and because of the way that their toxic relationship is portrayed, you're like, this really shouldn't be a book, but it is, and it is good. It's not a bad book. 3 stars is still a good rating for a book, and I did love it. And yes, I gave this one 3 stars. Obviously, like I said, I went straight into Daisy Hates, and I tell you now, Daisy and Christian's story I found, in this book anyway, much more interesting than Magnolia and BJ's in Magnolia Parks. And I was reading it, and if you actually see my day in the life vlog, which I posted about a week before this, I was reading it in it. I was doing like a bit of a day of life reading book, and I was reading Daisy Hates at the time, so you did see a few of my reactions in there. But Christian is friends with Magnolia. He's in their little group of friends, and he's essentially like a drug lord, gang lord, and Daisy's older brother Julian is in that same sort of crowd, and that's how they're sort of introduced to each other. And then you find out something about Christian in Magnolia Parks, which has a knock-on effect in Daisy Hates, and he is sleeping with Daisy to try and get over it, and ends up falling for Daisy, and you get to read their love story. And I gave this one 4 stars because it was good, and the way it ended, my heart, just the last thing Christian said to Daisy, I was like, no, I need the next one now. I need to know what happens. Obviously, at the time I didn't have them, and if you watched my day in the life reading vlog, you will know I was able to get original covers. Which leads us to the next one, which was Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home. I tell you, this is the best Magnolia Parks book. Out of the 2 of them, I love this one more. You found out so much more things made sense, and you just learn more about them, and it just, the ending, I think I cried for a good half an hour with the ending. And the author, Jessa Hastings, actually posted on her Instagram story maybe 2 days ago saying about the ending, and she just went, yes, they are. And if you've read it, you know exactly what that means. And I tell you, I was literally tearing up in my car knowing that the ending, it is how it ended. But yeah, a lot of things made sense. There was like, I think maybe like 4 big moments in this book, which if you've read it, you know exactly what they are. 2 of them are more near the start of the book, and the other 2 are near the end. But so good. I gave it 5 stars. I 5-starred Magnolia Parks, and it was, as soon as I finished it, I was like, I need the next one, which is currently not even published yet. It is Magnolia Parks in the Dark. It's going to be the 5th one. But I'm like, I need it now, like I need it. It's actually put me into a bit of a book slump because I have not picked up a book since I finished this. So yeah, that is it for September. I read the 3 books, but it was so worth it. So the next part we're going to do is the October TBR, which if you can see, I don't know if you can or not, I've got my little whiteboard up there which has got a few books listed, but I've got them all out in front of me and I'm going to go through every single one. So for October, I've got, I say a big TBR, I think I could do it. I know in September I like gave myself 14 books, which I shouldn't have done because half of them were on my Kindle, and I got back into reading physical books and I didn't really use my Kindle that much. But I've went and bought some more books recently, and I am going to aim and try to read all these books on my TBR. And first up, I've actually got Daisy Hates The Great Undoing by Jessa Hastings. This is Daisy Hates book number 2, and it follows on from exactly where it ends in Daisy Hates, I believe. And it is basically Daisy needs to go back to the life she's left behind, and she obviously sees Christian again and a brother, and is roped back into that world, and I guess we get to see how it pans out. I'm actually really excited to read this one, and I'm gonna actually start this one today and try and get through as much as I can of this. So yeah, that's the first book for our October TBR. The next book is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This is book 1 in the Knock 'em Out series, and I have seen these books around a lot. They actually look visually quite pretty as well, but from what I've gathered is it is Naomi and Knox's love story. So I think this one is, you've got Knox, who's this like broody, grumpy man who bumps into runaway bride Naomi, who is going to see her twin sister, and her sister is back up to her old ways, takes Naomi's car and crashes it, and leaves Naomi with her niece that she didn't know she had. So I think it'll be bonding between Naomi and her niece, and I think her and Knox will end up like getting together from what I can gather, but basically Naomi's in trouble and Knox is going to be the answer to all of her problems from what I can gather. So I'm quite excited to read this one. So the next book is Things We Hide from the Light, which is again by Lucy Score. This is book 2 in the Knockaman series. This is about police officer Nash who falls for next door neighbour Lena. I think she just moved in, I think she's new. Yeah. So what I can gather from reading the blurb is that Lena she isn't a small town girl. She does not want to stay in a small town and she tries to get out of Knockaman, and obviously something or someone is holding her back. So excited to read this one too. And obviously I can't only read 2 books in a series. I went and got the 3rd one the day it came out, which is Things We Left Behind. This is Lucian and Sloane's story. I know that. I don't really know much about them. I know that you kind of get the wrap up from the other 2 books in this as well from reading people's reviews and watching people's reviews on YouTube. I know it isn't what people expected, so I don't feel like I'm going to have high hopes for this one, but I am still excited to read it. So the next book that I want to try and read in October is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This one I have seen a lot about. I have tried to avoid reading any spoilers or trying to read any reviews or anything about it because I do want to go in it completely blind, because every time I've spoke to one of my friends they have said like how much they loved this book, so I want to try and avoid all spoilers as possible. I know it's something to do with, I don't know what their names are actually. Oh, Nate and Anastasia, I think they're in school together and it was either the figure skating team or the hockey team. One of them has lost their ice rink, so they have to like share an ice rink, and so much to do. I feel like it's Grumpy Sunshine, Enemies to Lovers sort of book, but other than that I know nothing, so I'll be quite interested to see where this book goes. The next book I want to try and read is Assistant to the Villain, which is by Hannah Nicole Mehra, I believe. And the one thing I love about this book is I literally bought it 2 days ago, and it is the Asda's Tickled Pink for breast cancer, I believe. Yeah, for breast cancer. So when I bought this book, some of the money that was on it actually went to the breast cancer charity, and it's got sprayed pink edges. And I know it doesn't really go with the purple theme of the book, but that was one of the reasons I picked it up, because I thought how cool are sprayed edges. But I think it's basically Evie loses a job and she sees this job posted online to be an assistant to a villain, hence the name of the book, and I think they end up falling for each other. And that's pretty much all I know. I haven't really read much about it. I have just been seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing that people have been loving it. So I am definitely going to start this one. And it doesn't look too long either, so I think I'll be able to get through this one pretty quickly. The next book I want to try and read in October is You and Me on Vacation. I know the American version I think is The People We Meet on Vacation. Obviously living in the UK, I've got the UK copy. And I think it follows the story of Poppy and Alex, who meet annually on a holiday and they end up falling in love. And I think it's one of the last holidays they go on. Things like that. It's, when I was reading the blurb and some of the reviews, it was given November 9th by Colleen Hoover. So yeah, quite excited to read this one actually, just because I believe each chapter follows the story of when they're on holiday. I'm just flicking through now to see if I can find. Yeah, so as you can see, one of the chapter 5 says 11 summers ago, and all the other chapters say like this summer, so I think it will like flashback between different holidays that they've been on, things like that. And yeah, I'm quite excited to read this one. Speaking of Coho, I know a lot of people have love-hate relationships with her books. I personally love the books itself. And for my birthday, because it's my birthday a few months ago, my mum actually bought me 2 Coho books because she likes reading them as well, so we just kind of share the books. So I want to try and read Too Late. My auntie actually took this on holiday with her, and she said that it was one of the thrillers, one of the whodunit that keeps you reading. She did say she did guess the whatever happens in it pretty early on, but she kept reading to find out if she was right or wrong or not. So I think so. I know the book follows the female is Sloane, and her brother needs medical help. She needs to pay for something, and she finds herself working for a drug trafficker, and then while she's working for the drug trafficker to pay for her brother's care, there's an undercover policeman that's trying to obviously bring this drug trafficker down, and they end up falling for each other, and I think he helps her get out at the end. So yeah, it'll be quite interesting to read this book. Again, another Coho one I got bought that I want to try and read is Never Never. This is actually by Coho and Taryn Fisher. So it follows Charlie and Silas, who have been friends for years, and they've been in love since they've ever had the first kiss at really young. And I think it's like a childhood friends to lovers sort of trope. I've just got to read the blurb. And they've been friends since they could walk. They've been in love with each other since 14, but they woke up one morning and they're complete strangers. Their first kiss, their first fight, and the moment they fell in love, every memory has vanished. Now Charlie and Silas must work together to uncover the truth about what happened to them and why. But the more they learn about the couple they used to be, the more they questioned why they were ever together to begin with. Forgetting is terrifying, but remembering might be even worse. So that might be quite interesting to see, like, there'll be bits obviously we wouldn't know, and then as they're remembering or figuring stuff out, we'll be able to see. So I feel that might be quite good. I think it's in dual POV as well, which love that to happen in a book. The next book that I want to read is Good Girl Complex. This is book 1 in Avalon Bay. I haven't got any of the others, but I have been seeing them and I do want to read them. So I thought I'll treat myself after I finish this book that I'll buy the next 2. So this follows Mackenzie, who is a people pleaser, and she moves to Avalon Bay with her parents, and she wants this whole life of her own, but she doesn't because she wants to obviously make sure mum and dad are happy and things like that, and she falls for bad boy Cooper. So I think that'd be quite interesting to read, because I imagine Cooper will probably give her this whole different aspect to life, and it'll probably be like a grumpy sunshine, things like that. So yeah, quite excited to read this one. The next one I want to try and read is it's one that has been sitting on my bookshelf for the longest time. I've seen it, it's been 3 years since this book got all the hype it had, and it is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I have not picked it up since the day I bought it, and I know I need to read it. I have tried to avoid everything I could on TikTok, on YouTube, any reviews or anything of this book. I know that she has 7 husbands, and I know you find out about each and every single one of them, and I know that her soulmate is actually really meant to be the girl, I think like the journalist that's like doing an article on her or something. I know that much. Other than that, I know nothing. I believe it is actually based on Marilyn Monroe and that sort of lifestyle of it all, so I think that'd be quite interesting to read. But yeah, and my last book for my October TBR is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is, I believe it's going to be my first proper fantasy that I'm going to read, and I have seen lots and lots of good things about this book, so I am going to read it. I don't know much. I know you've got like this place that's split into 2 by the ordinary and the elites, and you've got an ordinary that's got these powers so she can like kind of show that she is an elite in a way, but she's not, she's still an ordinary, and she's got to go through these trials to prove she is an elite, and you're kind of like, oh my god, like I just got to go through these trials, like what's going to happen. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finally getting around to reading this one. I think this will probably be one of the last ones I maybe sort of read, so that I can try and get through all the other books and I can reward myself with reading Powerless. But yeah, but that is it for my August/September wrap up and my October TBR. If there is any books of these that you have read and you did love them, please let me know in the comments, because I will definitely be wanting to pick that book up next. And yeah, look out for other videos. I have got a few ideas of what I want to do. I think I'm probably going to do a Magnolia Parks universe review once I have read Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. I'll probably do a Never After series review, different things. But if you have any video ideas that you want me to do, let me know in the comments. And yeah, see you next time. Bye!